Today, we're going to be looking at forensic entomology and the ways in which entomological evidence can help forensic investigation. Forensic entomology is the way that insects can provide detailed information about the time since death, which is the post-mortem interval, the time that a body or a corpse is discovered, and then the time since that person has died, and the way that we can determine an estimated time of death. Insects are useful in crime investigation, and there's an entire field dedicated to it. It is called forensic entomology. Forensic entomologists observe and record data. They look at the environmental conditions, they look at the temperature and time and conditions, weather, all of those things, in the same way that we were looking at all of those factors when we looked at decomposition, but they are specifically looking at the way that those impact the environment and insects in the environment. They collect insect evidence from on, above, and below a victim's body in order to use their knowledge and predict the time since death. Within minutes of death, certain insects arrive to lay their eggs on a warm body, and those are called blowflies. Typically, this is in the orifices. Orifice just means an opening in the body. So we're looking at any kind of hole that is in the body, and we're not talking necessarily about pores in this instance. I know we talked about pores previously, but here we're looking at larger openings. So typically it's openings that might include the nostrils. It might be openings near the tear ducts in the eyes. It might be near the ear canal. If the mouth is open, it would be in the mouth. If there are any gaping wounds in the body, then that would be openings that blowflies would be looking to lay their eggs as well. And that is so that their eggs can survive. So they're looking for openings in which their eggs can survive. So any kind of cuts or lacerations, things like that. As a corpse decomposes, other kinds of insects over time will arrive. This includes beetles, yellow jackets, coffin flies, other kinds of bugs will also be coming in. And when insects are found on a body, whatever stage of an insect's life cycle the insect is in can help to be a clue as to that post-mortem interval or time since death. So whatever stage of life the bug is, however long that bug has been alive, however long that insect has been living on the body, tells us more about how long the body has actually been there, or gives us a clue as to how long the body has been dead. There are 6 stages of life in a blowfly's life cycle: eggs, instar 1, instar 2, instar 3, pupa, and the adult blowfly. And these are what we are going to be looking at primarily to help determine length of time in that postmortem interval or time since death. The first that we're going to be looking at in less than 8 hours after death is the blowfly eggs. Those can be found in moist, warm areas of a corpse. They are white or off-white in color. They are small, and they almost look like just white dots almost. It almost looks like very small dots of mold almost. Grouped together. You would need a magnifying glass or a microscope to be able to tell that they actually are eggs, because they're very, very small. You can see them without the aid of a microscope or a magnifying glass. You can see that they're there, but you can't necessarily tell that they are eggs until you get up really close and with magnification. Within 23 hours of being laid, those eggs become larvae, which is instar 1. 3 to 4 days after that, the insects are in their 3rd larva stage, which is called instar 3. And the way that we're able to tell these different stages are by the posterior spiracles. These spiracles are at the back end. Posterior means back end Of the larva, in instar 1, there's just one spiracle. And in instar 3, there are 2 spiracles. Sorry, 3 spiracles. There's one spirit. You can see there's one little spiracle, one little line here, and then there's 3 little spiracles at instar 3. The spiracles are also breathing holes. There's 1 spiracle in its first stage. There's 3 spiracles in its third stage. And then they're breathing holes. And another term for egg laying is called oviposition. Ova meaning egg here, and position, the position of the eggs. 6 to 12 days after the death of the body and the laying of the eggs, larvae migrate to a dry place and become early pupa. Pupa are immobile. They cannot move. They change from light brown to dark brown in this phase. And several weeks later, the pupa cases split open, much like a butterfly chrysalis would split open, and adult blowflies emerge. So it's a lot less pretty. Newly hatched blowflies have crumpled wings, and that is because they have been encased in a tight pupa. And so after they break out of that pupa casing, their wings have some room to spread out. And so eventually the wings uncrumple, but they are crumpled up at first. This is the life cycle. So an adult blowfly starts at the time of death. Within 1 to 8 hours, eggs are laid. Within 8 to 23 hours, the eggs become instar 1 stage with 1 posterior spiracle. Within 24 to 27 hours, they become instar 2 with 2 posterior spiracles. In an additional 22 to 24 hours, they become instar 3 with 3 posterior spiracles. At 130 hours more, they become pupa stage, which turns from light brown to dark brown in their casing. And several weeks later, they emerge again as a blowfly. The timeframes for each of the stages can vary based on several factors, including environmental temperature, humidity levels, and access to the body. Colder environments will slow this process down. I have pictures coming up of the stages next. The first few show eggs and flies. There are some pictures in the first one that show zoomed in pictures of flies laying eggs. One has a picture of a person's eye that is closed with eggs laid next to it. And the other 2 just are zoomed in. You cannot tell what part of a body they are on. They're just zoomed in. But one of the pictures does show a zoomed in piece of what looks like sort of raw flesh, just to give you a content warning if it is something that you would rather look away from. The slide is coming up now. So you can see the white dots here. Those are the eggs. It's difficult to see how many eggs unless you really zoom in like that bottom right-hand picture is. And blowflies typically don't lay eggs at night. It's usually done in the daytime. The next picture that's coming up, you'll be able to see where these are in instar stages 1 and 2. And these are what we would call maggots. You're going to be able to see that they are larger. They have the spiracles at the end. You'll be able to see a lot of them have stage 2. These are actively, you can see, moving around. In 2 of the pictures, they're mostly just moving around. In one of them, you can't really tell what kind of a body they're on. But in the bottommost picture, there is a picture of them coming out of a corpse's mouth and nose, and it is a decaying corpse. So that is, again, a content warning. If you don't wish to see that, you may not want to look at the screen for the next picture that is coming up, which is on the screen now. You can see here in the topmost picture, if you look at the instar 2, you can see those posterior spiracles. There are 2 dots at the end of most of them. It looks like tiny little eyes, but they're not eyes. Those are actually their breathing holes. And then you can see where they are moving around the corpse and using that as food and development. And then in this next picture, there are no corpses visible. It's just maggots. So there's no corpses at all. It's just bugs. In this next picture, we have no corpses, just bugs on the screen now. Maggots often migrate to suitable population sites, and during that, they can leave a trail behind. So if they're crawling through liquid or moist surfaces, you'll see a trail of maggots, and a group of them is called a maggot mass. The temperature inside can be anywhere from 75 to 113 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on how many there are. So you can see in that first picture, there's like a little trail of them, but in the second picture, there's a maggot mass. There's a whole bunch of them that are looking for a suitable pupation site so that they can have a dry area to form their pupa and then turn into blowflies. And that is from their 130 hours after death, they are looking to turn into pupa. In this next clip, we're going to watch a video clip. There are back and forth clips of pictures of maggots and corpses and things. So just be wary of that. And it's about 7 minutes long. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to do is fill in the chart that we are going to have handed out that looks at forensic entomology and the formation and characteristics of each of the stages of blowflies. When you're finished with that, you are going to fill in the blowfly life cycle with descriptions and diagrams and color those in. And then after that, we have a video that we are going to watch and take notes on.